Hi there, and welcome to the first in a series of Christmas-related vlogs, which are going to be discussing various, Christmas programs that I really love, and some books. Growing up, I always watched a lot of the great cartoons on TV, and especially one of my favorites being the old Rankin Bass cartoons, or, animatronic specials. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and I'm going to do all of those. But today I'm going to talk about a standard cell animation show that they did called Twas the Night Before Christmas. And I just had some thoughts on that. Now, this is really okay for the kids, but I think grown-ups out there should watch it too. But it's kid-safe, so don't worry about it. Anyway, Twas the Night Before Christmas was made in 1974, and it's a half-an-hour special. And it has some celebrities in it, such as Joel Grey and George Gobel as Father Mouse. And he is basically a mouse assistant to a clockmaker named Joshua Trundle, who is played by Joel Grey in the film, who also narrates the famous 1823 poem at the beginning of the film. And it's one of those stories that starts out at the end and kind of works to the beginning. You hear Gobel as Father Mouse in bed worrying about whether Christmas is going to come or not, because it started a couple weeks before when the mailman came. And the mailman came and delivered a series of notes to everybody in town, person and animal. And it was all their Christmas letters to Santa that hadn't even been opened. And when Father Mouse decides to call Mouse Bell, as it were, they tell him that Santa objected to a letter that he later discovered was written by his kind of bookish son Albert. And the letter, and I'll never forget it, goes, "Santa Claus is a fraudulent myth, rooted in unconscious fantasies and emerging as a deceitful lie. P.S. The reindeer are phony too. Signed, all of us." See that? Albert did not sign it just from himself, see? He signed it from his parents. And he signed it from everybody in town, many of whom did believe in Santa Claus. And in the meantime, Mr. Trundle is thinking of making a clock that sings a cute little Christmas song that will bring Santa back to town and will let him know that the townspeople really do believe, unlike this letter written by this little boy. Mouse, as it were. Now, Father Mouse takes his son Albert around to hospitals with sick children and explains to them that they need something to believe in, but now they don't have one, so they're very unhappy. And one boy who is the best artist in school, who rejected everything because he thinks that Santa let him down, and tries to help him understand the consequences of his actions. And that kind of brings me to my review of this. I am not, I have a lot of questions about childhood discipline, but because this is a children's review, I won't get too much into that, or safe enough for children at any rate. But, I think that if you're going to discipline a child, I think it should be based on accountability, and I think Father Mouse portrayed this in a really good way by, letting his son know the consequences of the mistake he had made and how it affected other people. And, took him out of himself and put him into the egos of other people and how they felt about Santa and the things that he had written. Of course, at the end of the story, Mr. Trundle has a difficulty too, because Albert wants to see how this clock that he makes works. So he goes into it and kind of unintentionally ruins it. So he creates a double problem for himself. And people don't trust Joshua Trundle anymore either. So you have the sausage effect. You squeeze one end of the sausage and it boils up into the other. And that's what this story is really about. But, of course, his father, Mouse, doesn't know that Albert did this. But Albert confesses this time. And says he broke the clock and he apologizes. But his father says again, based on accountability, see? It's not enough to be sorry when you did something wrong. You have to correct the thing you did. So he decides to fix the clock by midnight. Then we turn back to where it starts. Father Mouse and Joshua Trundle wondering if his son will repair the clock on time. And of course he does, and there's happiness for all. And along the way, there are many, adorable little songs that are just going to kind of stick in your memory. But basically, it's a great story about accountability. About taking responsibility for the things you do, even if they're the wrong things. And not only that, it's, basically, somebody here called it a good morality play for our children. I think it's a good, thing to help up your psychological build-up, Take accountability for all things you do, the good and the bad things. And this cartoon really entertains along the way. And I know that, during the Christmas time season, because a lot of kids, there's this whole naughty and nice thing. Santa Claus won't come if you're naughty. They try to hide bad things they do. This one, it tells you, you want to take account even still. And, you never know. Kids out there, you take account of something you did wrong. Santa might, look at that and say, oh, well, you're being responsible. That means you're good. You never know. And that is Twas the Night Before Christmas, and TV special by Rankin Bass, and, what it means to me. This is Andre signing out. Until next time.